So in the previous video, we have solved two questions and we discuss about how you have to start with the naive approach and then you can move on to the optimized approach to impress the interviewer. So let's move on to the third question. So the third question is create a queueable Apex for large data processing. Let me read the full question. Create a queueable Apex class that processes thousands of opportunity record and updates a custom field. That means we have to write in queueable apex. It is already written here that you have to write the queueable apex. Now you don't have to think whether you have to write the future method or you have to write the batch apex. You have to write the queueable apex. There are some questions which have a straightforward approach and interviewer asks that questions while thinking that will the candidate be able to think that straightforward approach or not. There is no naive approach for this question. There is a straightforward solution. If you know the trick, you can solve the question and you can pass the interview. That's all. So let me show you the solution for this question. First of all, you can try on your own how you can do it. Then you can continue the video from here. So this is the queueable class I have written. You can see the name is queue for long data processing. Okay, I am implementing queueable here. That is the proof that it is a queueable class. So what I am doing is this code is not a practical code. It is just a code. When interviewer asks you to write a code for like processing the data, it is not telling you a condition or anything. It is just saying you have to write a dummy code of a queueable Apex that can process the thousands of record and update some custom field in it. That means it is not telling you to write a trigger. It is not telling you specifically to update any field. So you can write a dummy code there. It is not a working code, but it did not have any error either. So see the code, you will understand. Okay, first of all, I am assuming that I have some opportunities ID which I am getting from somewhere. So I have created a public list of opportunities ID. Then I'm taking in constant chunk size 5000. That means I'm going to create the chunks of 5000 records per chunk. Okay. And then in the constructor, I'm getting the opportunities ID and then I'm assigning those IDs to my public list. That means there is a parameter of opportunities ID, which is a list and which is coming in the parameter. And this is my execute method. It is a compulsory method which we use in Queueable class. And this is also the compulsory parameter we have to pass to write our Queueable method. Queueable context. If you don't know about the Queueable class, you can just read it on the Google and you can ask ChatGPT to write a dummy code of Queueable class. And I am assuming that you already know the concept of Queueable class. Here I have taken an integer list size, which is taking the opportunity size. Now, what I'm doing is now I'm creating a variable and size. And in the and size variable, what I'm doing, I'm checking my list size is less or my chunk size is less. Whatever the less is, I'm gonna take it as the and size because I want to only run the loop till my list is finished either or my chunk size is finished either. I'm creating two lists here, a working list and a sending list. Working list where I'm gonna do the operation, like I'm gonna update some custom field, I'm gonna update it in the working list. And sending list is I'm gonna send the remaining list in a chain. That's what I'm gonna do. So I run a loop from 0 to the end size. Okay, we have already declared end size here. And then I'm adding all the opportunities ID in the working list in which I'm gonna update some custom field. And here the remaining list will be from and size to the list size if they're n. Okay, then I'm adding all of them in the sending list. Here I have written do whatever you want to do with the working list. That means you want to update some custom field, just run the loop and update the field. Or maybe you can run a SQL query, retrieve all the opportunities using those opportunities ID and then update them. Let me write some code. Here, what you can do is you want to update a custom field, then run a SQL query. So I'm gonna get some list. So here I have written opportunity list. Here I'm gonna run ISOQL query, select ID, name from opportunity, where ID in the working list. I will get some opportunities and then I will run a loop on that. I will run a for loop on the opportunity list and will update that field. Like I want to update the name field. Here I will write the name field, whatever I want to update. Or maybe there is some active checkbox which I want to make true. Okay, so I can update any field and then my work will be done with the working list. And then what will I gonna do? I will gonna send the list in the NQ job. Here I'm chaining it. Like I have worked on the working list. I have updated all the fields. In this code, I have updated the 5,000 records I got first. Suppose I have 50,000 records and the chunk size is 5,000. So that means in this code, I have updated 5,000 records. Now remaining 45,000 will go in this chain and will process in another queue. I'm again calling this one. So that's how it will gonna again call this. So when I will find my sending list empty, that means there is no remaining record which I need to send to update. That's how this loop will break. So this is all. This is the approach you need to learn. You need to think about it because that is something that can only be done by Queueable Apex. Because here, where you do chaining, there is we can't do chaining in batch Apex. We can't do chaining in the future method. Queueable Async Apex is the only class where you have to do chaining. You don't have to think twice. You just need to know that you need to write a queueable class. In the questions, we already know that we have to write a queueable class. That is a straightforward approach. So think about it. You will be able to, find the answer in your mind, and then you will be able to write the code. And I'm already assuming that you already know the queueable apex. So let's move on to the another question. In this question, I have to write a batch apex class. Create a batch apex class that updates all contacts active checkbox. That means there is an active field in our contacts, which is a checkbox. So we need to update all the contact active checkbox where mailing city is Delhi. That means in our object we have contacts and in contacts we have field active and that is a checkbox and wherever we find mailing city Delhi, we will update the checkbox. We just need to make the active checkbox true. So here it is already written that we have to write in batch apex and batch size should be configurable and send completion email after finish and then we have to send an email after it is finished. Also a straightforward questions where interviewer have asked you to write the batch apex class and you can see the question is very straightforward. There is no naive approach for this question. You can just write the straightforward approach. Let me show you the code. So this is my code. I have named it update contact with batch and I'm writing implements database.batchable as object. That is how you write a batchable Apex. See, what I'm telling is a mandatory keywords which you have to use while writing the batch Apex class. The batch Apex class is divided into three parts: the start, the execute part, and the finish part. Here at the start, you retrieve the records, whatever you need to perform some operation. In the execute, you perform the operation, and in the finish, you do those operations which you want to do after your operation has been finished. So let's see step by step. So in the start, there are some compulsory words that is database.queryLocator. You have to write it every time. So this is the parameter database.batchable context. You can name it anything. I have written BC here. You can see the job ID, the time taken, those details in the batchable context. That's why we always write the batchable context. That is a compulsory parameter. After that, you need to create a query which you're gonna run to retrieve some data for the batch apex processing. Here I have written the select ID, name, mailing city, active C. This is our custom field in the contact from contact. Okay, and then we have to return database.getQueryLocator query. It is also a compulsory thing whenever you are writing a batch apex class, you need to return database.getQueryLocator. You need to copy paste these things in your mind because there are things which are very compulsory while writing some codes. Like in the batch apex class, there are multiple things which are compulsory. You should know the syntax very well. Okay, let's move to the execute. Here you can see we always have to write the batchable context parameter first and then the list of contacts which we are retrieving from this query. Then we will get some contact list and then what we are doing is we are running a loop on the list and activating the active true. That means the checkbox will be ticked here now. After that, we will update all the contact list. This batch will run on the records as many times as we written the value of the batch. So here in the finish, we have updated all the context now. Now we need to send a mail. So to send mail, we always write like this messaging dot single email message. We have to give a name to this instance and then new messaging single email message. After that, we give a subject here, we text body here, we give an address here where we want to send the email and then the send email. This will send the email. So let's run this. If you want to run your batch Apex class, you have to write like database.execute batch, and then you have to create a new instance of your class. This is my class name, update contact with batch. That's what I have created the instance here. And then you have to give the value of your batch, how many records of batch you want to create per execute. So after writing the code, your interviewer may ask you to now execute it and send the email. And what you will do, you will just send the email like I did, but you may get error. So then interviewer will ask you, now let's find out the error why your email is not getting sent. So what you need to do is you need to go to the setup, and the first step will be we need to go to the debug logs. And after reaching on debug logs, you have to create a new debug log because a debug log only remains for 24 hours. So let's create a debug log here. You need to choose a user. Let me choose my own user. Let's click on this. And for 24 hours, that means the start date will be today date and the expiry date will be the next day, the same time. And you have to choose a debug level here. So I'm going with this one and save it. The entity is already being traced. That means I have already created one earlier. So that's why it is giving error. You will not see the error. So when I run the code, you have to run the code again to see these debug logs. So you can just run the code again and then you will see send email failed. First exception on row 0. First error, insufficient access. We can't send your email because your email address domain is not verified. So what is this error and how you can solve it? That is a big question. You can think about it. Maybe you have faced this error before and you just need to know how you can solve it. So if you already know, that is a very good thing. If you don't know, then let me teach you. First you need to go, first you need to go to the setup and search org wide addresses. Here you can see organization wide addresses. And here you need to add your verified email address from which you want to send the email. And then you have to write the name, like I'm writing Sachin Singh, and you have to write your email address here. Let me write my, so this is my email address and I'm allowing all profiles. Let's save. Here you can see my email has been added here, but you can see verification request has been sent to your email. So here you can see I got an email and you can see we have received the email following request to add this Salesforce organization wide email address. So you need to just click on this link and verify email address, continue, and you can just go back to this page and reload this page. And you can see the status is verified. Now you can use this email to send email to anyone using Apex. So let's update our Apex code a little bit and then we will be able to send email. So you can see I have updated my code here and here I am using my org wide email address. And you can see my address is this from which I am sending my email, which I have used here in my organization wide email address. And here I am setting my org wide email address ID first, then sending the email. Now my email will be sent. So let's check the email. So here's my email open. I don't see any email coming. Let's check on the spam. And you can see here, I have some email coming from my Apex class. All context has been updated as per task. So it's not always about Apex code. It's about that you know the fundamentals or not. You will be able to send the email or not. You know the code. That is very good. Anyone can write the code. If like some people have just learned the code, like I have to write this code, copy paste it in the mind and then write the same code. But an experienced person always know how things work. If you could have already knew the concept of organization wide email addresses, then you can easily send the email using Apex. But if you don't know that, that means even if you write the correct code, you will not gonna clear the interview. That's how you need to show the interview that you have quite the good experience and knowledge of everything in the org and the code. So thank you. Let's solve other questions in the next video.